And so when we got back to play the concert, my bass was gone, like gone, and it had my flute inside of it. Hi, this is Di. I am going to tell you some stories today. It is a story time about playing bass in high school. So I was in high school band. I played flute in concert band and played bass in jazz band. I don't know how many of you were in band when you were in high school, or if you went to an American high school that had a band. So leave some comments and let me know, did you play a musical instrument in high school? And so I thought I'd tell you some funny stories from my experience in high school band. So my high school band, our jazz band, was in competitions. And so we competed against other bands and you would get rankings. But I went to like a super duper small high school, and we went to an invitational festival, which means we were invited to come and play, and we competed. And we were very proud of ourselves when we won that contest, brought home our giant trophy, and they even put it on the reader board that we had won. The secret behind that story was the fact that since we were a single A high school, which is the smallest ranking of high school, we were competing against other bands that were single A. Well, no one else was in the contest that was a single A band. They had one middle school band, and then they had, I think it was a Japanese jazz band made of some students from the country of Japan who actually had come in, and so that is who we competed against. So as proud as we were of our trophy, it was a little bit rigged, but hey, nobody in the school knew. We would go on band tour every year, so every year we would pack up all of our gear and take the band on tour. And part of our tour, we went to Ording, remember, Ording, Washington. Look that one up on a map. It is a tiny dot, a speck on a map. And so when we were in Ording, Washington, we played a show at one of their schools. I think it was at their high school. And so we were set up, not in an auditorium, but in a gymnasium. So the entire concert band was set up, and then the jazz band off to one side, and we were all set up and ready to go. And as we were getting set up, I plugged into the amp, started getting set up, and noticed something disturbing. It was starting to smoke. My amp was catching fire, and smoke was billowing, as I remember, out of the plugs where the quarter-inch cable goes, and it was coming right out of the amp head, and so smoke was billowing out. And at that time, our band director was tuning up the concert band, and so they were all playing middle C, and he was all making sure everyone sounded good, and I was saying, excuse me, and he's like, I'm busy right now. I'm like, excuse me, my amp is on fire. He was just going about minding his own business. Finally got his attention, and they had another amp they were able to wheel in. But yeah, it's kind of interesting having your amp catch fire in a gymnasium full of people. Now, I've told this story once before, but it was a long, long time ago, so I would like to tell it again it's my most embarrassing moment in life. And this was once we were playing the Bellevue Jazz Festival, which was an invitational festival, and it was really important to us. We cared a lot about it. And as I was setting all of my gear up and getting things going, getting all my stuff going, setting my gear up, and as I plug in, I flip the amp on, and there is this tremendous hum, like a hum like no other. It was taking up the entire room. Everyone was waiting for us to play, so the room was full of people, and there's this huge hum. And I just reached over to their amp, and I flipped it off, and the hum stopped. And all of the teenage boys in the audience, they applauded for me. Super embarrassing. And now the ultimate bass player story. If you've made it this far, I appreciate it, because this is the story you've been waiting for. Especially if you play bass, this is the story you need to hear. In high school, we had a concert we were playing. Someone had designed it with the band room on one side of the high school and the gymnasium on the other side of the high school. So they were miles apart. And so we had to push all of our gear from the band room down the hall all the way to the gymnasium, and it was a long way. We pushed all of our gear down there, and so I had tried to bring minimal gear. I was playing in concert band, playing flute, and playing bass and jazz band. So I wanted to bring, the lightest thing I could. So I took my bass case and opened it up and put my flute inside, and had my flute inside with my bass, and hauled that and the amps and everything down to down to the gymnasium where the concert was going to be. And we set everything up, and they locked up the gym, and we were done for the day. Then we went home, got ready, came back and played the concert that evening. And so when we got back to play the concert, my bass was gone. And it was this bass. That's why I'm holding this black bass, because this is the bass that I played in high school. And when we got back, it was just gone, like gone. And it had my flute inside of it. So I had to borrow a flute to play. I had to borrow a bass to play so that we could still play the show. After we played the concert, you know, I was pretty depressed when I got home, pretty sad about having my gear missing. Went home and got a call from the band director, and he's like, I got your bass and flute back. I'd like to come by your house and bring it by. Like, okay, cool. So Mr. D, he came to my house. He actually drove to my house, and he had my bass and my flute. Everything was fine. He brought it back to me, and I was like, okay, so what happened? Well, one of the other high school students that I went to school with, he had gone into the gymnasium and stole it. And other kids knew about it. And so he had heard through the rumor mill that this was the individual that stole my gear. So he had gone to that kid's house. He showed up, and he's like, okay, so I need to know, do you have Diana's bass? I need to get back to her. You know, you won't get in trouble if I just get it back now. And so the kid went back into his room or whatever, and he brought my bass out, and he handed it to Mr. D, and he goes, yeah, you can totally have it back. I thought it was a guitar. There you go. The embarrassment of being a bass player always continues. He meant to steal a guitar. Anyway, those are my story time about high school playing bass. There will be a few more story times coming up. More embarrassing and wonderful stories about my experience as a bass player. And I look forward to sharing those with you. Thank you so much for watching. Please leave something in the comments. I reply to everyone. See you soon. God bless.